Yeah, it sure seems like it, Jesse. I think what they didn't realize is they thought they could run the country the way they ran a campaign, with a virtual candidate in the basement, and COVID would hide that. And then when he was elected...
No, I think he told his donors that nothing would fundamentally change and that he was going to take the country back circa, like 2012, 2013. That was Biden's MO the whole time. Yeah. He is fantastic. There was some party infighting with her. They removed her from a committee, but that's a whole other story.
They thought, well, he'll be a virtual president like he was a virtual candidate. But they're not the same, a candidate and a president. And now we're in the 11th month and everybody knows it. The question is, what are they going to do about it? Because they're in an existential dilemma, because all these issues that you talked about that are polling even lower than Biden's himself, about 38, 39%, and there are only 3 or 4 of them that really people are, really worried about. And one is crime, and now it's seeping into the upscale neighborhoods, Carmel by the Sea, Nordstrom's in Walnut Creek, today in Hollywood, and then there's the border, and then
an old fort to attack an old fort.
Economy, and then there's COVID. And they were all stable or they were improving when Trump left office, and Biden...
No. Violent crime was going up like the entirety of 2020. No.
They're terrible, and I'm going to change things. And he didn't just leave them alone and adopt the former president's policies that were working. He rejected them.
Okay, you mentioned the border, but yes, he did leave the former president's policies alone. Matter of fact, people have actually quit the State Department because they said his use of Title 42 was inhumane. So I don't know what this old fart that's attacking an old fart doesn't even know what he's talking about.
But the problem they're having now is it's not just Kamala Harris, because they're thinking, my God, she's polling lower than both the issues and Biden. If she goes in and predictably acts as president as she's done as vice president, we could really face Armageddon. But the other issue is the people behind Biden that gave us these policies.
I hope you like Katie Porter.
They're responsible for it.
I love watching clips of Katie Porter here on this show.
You would have to get rid of all of the advisors that have come in from the Obama administration, the Elizabeth Warrens, the Bernie Sanders crew, the squad, and they're the ones that are responsible for this.
Wait, what? All the get rid of all the popular politicians and continue being a Republican light. Yeah, we should really take advice from Fox News and their idiot talking heads.
He didn't think this up. He was just the vessel that got these people into power, and he's, mouthing what they say. But they're the
old Biden is controlled by the communists.
A lot of guys in the Democratic men.
I hear that a lot.
And they look around for alternatives, and they said, well, if he were to leave and resign, then we have the people still in power for whoever came in, and their policies are failing.
Rupert Murdoch is like the oldest of old forts.
He could wipe us out in the midterms and worse in 2024. So what are they doing?
Lechlan Murdoch.
They're saying Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump.
It's a running joke here on the show.
January 6th, January 6th. And now they've got a new meme, and there's theme, and that is, if we lose in 2022 or 2024.
Speaking of January 6th, Robert Evans, who does Behind the Bastards and Worst Week Ever, had a, what would you call it? It's like a mini-series podcast. It's about 8 episodes, The Assault on America. I just finished that today as I was sick, laying in bed. Fantastic. Check that out.
Or it's the end of democracy. They even have military officers writing op-eds to that effect. Coup, end of democracy. So they don't have any...
They even have military officers writing to that effect. These retired generals, we watched the video of him. Dude, conservative Republican. Said the fucking party has gone goddamn crazy. And this is supposed to be the party that supports the troops. This asshole who never served is gonna denigrate a fucking general? How dare he?
They don't have any policy.
Not that I have respect for generals,
They're in a paradox. They don't know what to do.
but supposedly they
The
do.
ones that are going to suffer. We don't know what to do.
He's a puppet, and now the puppet master, they're moving the strings, and he's not working. And the country...
These two fucking funded by millionaire assholes talking about other people being puppets. Remember, the Hoover Institute, funded by the, I'll get ready to say Koch brothers, Charles Koch. Remember that. Keep that in mind. It'll come in handy here in a second.
And they're saying, look over here, look at Trump, look at January 6th. They're trying to distract, but it's all breaking down. Victor Davis Hanson, thank you so much for your insight.
Yeah, absolutely.
How the Koch network hijacked the war on COVID. Reading from the Daily Poster. If you'd like to go and check this out later. As Omicron surges, a shadowy institute filled with fringe doctors appears to be part of big business's 2-year strategy to legitimize attacks on pandemic interventions. Oh, I'm sorry you're too loud. Everybody tells me I'm too loud. I get that all the time. The story was produced in partnership with the Center for Media and Democracy. Earlier this month, as the Omicron variant began to spread, a small liberal arts school on a tree-lined campus in Michigan called Hillsdale College announced it was launching an Academy for Science and Freedom to educate the American people about the free exchange of scientific ideas and the proper relationship between freedom and science in the pursuit of truth. It sounds like bullshit. The Academy was inspired by the pandemic. As we reflect on the worst public health fiasco in history, our pandemic response has unveiled serious issues with how science is administered, noted the college president in a press release. But the venture isn't exactly an effort to apply science to the COVID-19 crisis. The so-called fiasco was government pandemic measures like mask and vaccine mandates, contact tracing, and lockdowns. You know, the shit that works. Hillsdale is a conservative Christian institution with ties to the Trump administration, and scholars behind the academy, Scott Atlas, Jay Bahachahara, and Martin Koldroff, are connected to right-wing dark money attacking public health measures. The trio also has ties to the Great Barrington Declaration, a widely rebuked yet influential missive that encouraged governments to adopt a herd immunity policy, letting COVID-19 spread largely unchecked, even as the virus has killed more than 800,000 Americans, which is almost certainly an undercount. We are probably closer to 1.5 million. Ringo, have a fantastic night. No, do not piss the lady off. We will catch you later. I don't know. Do not piss the significant other off. How dare I assume like that? Because you guys never know if I got dick or vagina going on back there. Depends on how I'm feeling that week. Academy is the newest initiative designed to provide intellectual cover to a nearly 2-year campaign by right-wing and big business interest to force a return to normalcy to boost corporate profits amid a pandemic that is now surging once again thanks to Omicron. The campaign's most recent success came earlier this month when Senate Republicans and a handful of Democrats joined together to pass a symbolic measure to repeal a Biden administration rule requiring large corporations to mandate vaccines or regular COVID tests for workers. The story of how that corporate bankrolled campaign originally started and how it has continued to supplant public health experts and hijack the governmental response to the pandemic. COVID began its spread across the United States in early March of 2020. States responded by locking down to varying extents. All 24 Democratic governors and 19 of the 26 Republican governors issued weeks-long stay-at-home orders and restrictions on non-essential businesses. Lockdown measures drove down cases in the U.S. and likely saved millions of lives globally. But the decline of in-person shopping and work, combined with factory shutdowns in places like China, disrupted the economy. 2020 report from the corporate consulting firm McKinsey & Company, I believe that's where Pete Buttigieg used to work, found that the hardest hit industries would take years to recover. One sector in particular that took a big hit was the fossil fuel industry. Oil demand fell sharply in 2020, placing the global economy on uncertain footing. Why do states keep tying their dollars to petrol? It seems to keep going badly, doesn't it? Before long, business-aligned groups, particularly those connected to fossil fuels, began targeting the public health measures, threatening their bottom lines. Chief among them were groups tied to billionaire Charles Koch, owner of Koch Industries, the largest privately held fossil fuel company in the world. The war on public health measures began on March 20, 2020, when Americans for Prosperity, the right-wing nonprofit founded by Charles and David Koch, issued a press release calling on states to remain open. We can achieve public health without depriving the people most in need of the products and services provided by business across the country. A month later, the American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC, a business lobbying group partially funded by Koch Industries, published a letter calling on President Donald Trump to enable states to reopen. That letter was signed by over 200 state legislators and stakeholders, including leaders from Koch-funded groups like the Texas Public Policy Foundation and the James Madison Institute. How many of these goddamn think tanks are they funding? I'll give you another one. The Young Americans Foundation, YAF. They produce propaganda videos. That's the group backing my good friend Jake here. I'm going to be going on his show. And don't think I'm not going to be talking about Koch money when I go on there. Calls himself a man of God. He takes money from fucking millionaires and billionaires to bash people. The opposite of what Jesus preached. To fight its war, the Koch network also relied on the Astroturfed roadmap behind the anti-government Tea Party movement, which they also funded, using its dark money apparatus to coordinate anti-lockdown protests. Participants for a number of anti-lockdown rallies were recruited by Freedom Works, a dark money group tied to Charles Koch, instrumental in organizing Tea Party protests in 2009. Several of the 2020 rallies were also promoted by the Convention of States Action, a group founded by an organization with ties to the Koch network and hedge fund billionaire Robert Mercer. And apparently they want to rewrite the U.S. Constitution in Michigan. A major event was organized by the Michigan Freedom Fund, a nonprofit funded by the family of Trump's Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos. Groups funded by the Kochs and their colleagues also turned to a more insidious form of combat, adopted from the Tea Party strategies, building an academic and intellectual network that would create and promote its own science to attack COVID mitigation policies. That's why you're seeing the ivermectin. That's why you're seeing the hydroxychloroquine at the beginning. What a bunch of creeps indeed. Build up immunity through natural infection. That's why you're hearing Rand Paul talk about natural immunity all the time. October 4th, 2020, the Great Barrington Declaration was released to the world, authored by Stanford University professor Jay Bhattacharya, former Harvard Medical School professor Morton Koldorf, and Oxford University professor Sunetra Gupta. The declaration recommended governments allow younger, healthier people to become infected with COVID-19 while reserving focused protection for the vulnerable in order to reach herd immunity. Suggestions included having nursing homes limit staff rotations and businesses rely on workers with acquired immunity. The most compassionate approach that balances the risk and benefits of reaching herd immunity is to allow those who are at minimum risk of death to live their lives normally to build up immunity to the virus through natural infection. The document boasted a veneer of academic legitimacy. Its credentialed authors wrote the letter at a conference hosted by the auspicious-sounding American Institute for Economic Research in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. According to the Declaration's website, the letter has since been signed by more than 2,700 medical and public health scientists, and none of the authors or co-signers received any money, honoraria, stipend, or a salary from anyone. But the Declaration arose out of the world of right-wing dark money and corporate interests, and many of its signatories aren't verified. They say they're not taking any money, but we know that's not true. I do encourage you to go and finish reading this article. It's a long one. It is in the Daily Poster. It was posted on December the 22nd by Walker Bragman and Alex Koch. And it was a partnership with the Center for Media and Democracy. They did a good job on this story.